Greek sculpture.
Sculpture. In ancient Greece, sculptors were often viewed as manual laborers and not held in high regard. Yet these artisans produce pieces that are regarded as important artworks today. Typically, the sculpture of ancient Greece is categorized into three different styles: archaic, classical, and Hellenistic. Archaic style. Inspired by the art of ancient Egypt and Mesopotamia, the Archaic period represents some of the first attempts by ancient Greeks to carve stone. The results are similar to some of the statues that we find from ancient Egypt in their rigid frontal stances. Unlike the Egyptian statues, however, Greek statues in this style sometimes have holes or openings between the arms and legs, with sometimes narrow connections in the stone closing the holes. Three main statue types were common. The kouros was a standing nude youth. The kor was a standing draped girl. See the image of the standing girl. The final common statue type was a seated woman. These figures represent the start of the Greek art concentration on the human figure, something for which they would be famous. These statues were produced for many different reasons, including display in temples and in public memorials. They generally did not represent specific people, but were rather depictions of the ideal. Classical style. The classical style is characterized by more natural poses and more skillful depictions of the human form. In part, these developments stem from the experiences of creating reliefs and sculptures for temple pediments that featured battle scenes and other active bodies. Translating this to freestanding statues was not an easy task, but we gradually begin to see the military rigid stances of the Archaic period change into a more natural form in the Classical period. Statues were now posed with one foot in front of the other, giving natural bended knees and a slight turn of the pelvis. The stance, which is known as contrapposto, counterpoise, is more athletic and natural to the ways that humans stand and move. The ancient Greeks also found new and different ways to use these statues. Some were mounted on the frieze portion of the temples. In fact, many of the examples of classical sculpture that we have are from the ruins of the Parthenon. Funeral statuary might include whole family units with statues reflecting specific individuals. They often showed the deceased person departing from his or her family. Hellenistic style. During the 4th century BCE, Greek culture spread throughout many parts of the world, due in part to the conquest of Alexander the Great. This expansion of the Greek Empire meant that Greek artists were increasingly exposed to the artistic works of people from other cultures. Hellenistic style continued to become more naturalistic, and increasingly common people, animals, and domestic scenes were included in sculptures and reliefs. Realism and expressiveness were also more common and developed. In this unit, we've explored some of the art from three Mediterranean and Near East cultures. The art from Mesopotamian cultures, ancient Egypt, and ancient Greece would help shape art in the Western world for thousands of years. As we continue to explore the development and history of art, we will see how these early artworks influenced later artists. In the units to come, we will look for this influence on Western art, and we will also learn more about ancient art in other areas of the world, such as ancient China and Polynesia.